They haven't quite started yet. I got a couple minutes. Yeah.
Eventually, the descendants of these surviving Norse tribes would become the Viking raiders of the Middle Ages.
So Leanne, you want to go ahead and start the recording? We're just 1 minute after 10 here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think we're about where we need to be. Good morning to everybody, and I appreciate your attendance here this morning. If you don't know, my name is Paul Harris. I'm First Vice President of Ohio Fair Managers. Paul Lease is on here this morning with us as well. Give a wave there, Paul. He's helping me with this presentation this morning. I think we're in about week 3 or 4 or 5 here on our virtual presentations here with fair managers, since we couldn't get together in Columbus this year. We're starting to get a little better handle on things. These are coming together real well. We do have them recorded as we go through. They will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel on Ohio Fair Managers website. We do have a PowerPoint today, and when we do have PowerPoints, we load those as well to the Fair Managers website under the convention tab. You can go back and review the PowerPoint if you'd like along the way. So appreciate everybody's participation this morning. I'd like to thank our sponsor for today. With our sponsor today is Greater Ohio Showmen's Association. Of course, you know, it's very vital to them that we get our fair industry back up and running as well. But they've been a great partner to the Ohio Fair Managers, and we appreciate their support today. So if you see somebody involved in that organization, well, make sure you give them a shout out and a thank you for sponsoring our program. And these programs in this virtual program that we put together will run through March at this point. We'll talk later if we want to extend it, you know, farther in. If they're helpful to you, we can extend them, you know, as we go forward. But a couple other thank yous this morning. On this morning is my office assistant, Meg Noah. Howard's office assistant there at the OFMA office, Leanne Bush, and Kathy Cunningham's on from Summit as well. These guys have been very helpful as we put these presentations together, and they've been working with us through all this. Of course, Howard Call, our executive director of Ohio Fair Managers, is on here as well. So they'll have some things to say. So Meg, if you want to go ahead and pull that up, you can go ahead and get started on things. There we go. Well, when our topic came around last year at convention, we talked about livestock sales, and we were just overwhelmed. The program committee was just overwhelmed with the amount of response that we got to it. And I think I even learned some stuff along the way with it, that there's several ways to cut this piece of pie that we know of as livestock sales. I mean, there was just so many things to talk about. We knew we wanted it added to the program again this year. And then, of course, without being able to go to Columbus, and then with all the changes that came along the way with the governor's orders and the junior fair orders and animals in the rings and stuff. So we patterned this livestock sale conversation today after what changed and where we're at and where we're going. What I've got here for a PowerPoint is just basically what we did in Geauga County. I'm not preaching that this is what we did, that this is what you need to do, that this is the right way. I'm just giving you an example of what we did. And as we work through it, and you guys can take out of it what you want. And then by all means, we get through this, Paul Lease is going to interject a few things, and then we want to open it up for a conversation if we can help with any of the discussion as we go. So I'm going to go ahead, Meg. We alluded to this the other day, and this has got Meg's stamp on it here. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. I think that's what we realized more than anything as we were working through this last year. All the challenges that were put into this, we realized the situations that changed that we can build off of and actually make our sales better. So go ahead. Here's some pictures just of what we did in the past. I mean, just to give you an idea, and I'm sure we're not any different than anybody else. It's just we start our small animal sale at 2:30 in the afternoon. We start our large animal sale at 5:30 that same day. They overlap. We don't run them back to back. We overlap them. So if the small animal's not done, the large animal starts. So our small animal here in the upper left-hand corner in the tent, obviously you can see social distancing wasn't an issue in the old days, that wasn't a problem. So, and then of course, down in the bottom right, we have the setup in the ring with the large animals. And the bottom left, something that changed this year when the kids came out, they had their buyer's packet. They would take their buyer's packet out, shake the hand of their buyer that was sitting in the ring, hand it to them, hand it off to them, and get a high five, do whatever. And all that stuff had to change this year. So everything was on, I guess, reinventing the wheel. So we've got, obviously on July 31st, the director amended the order limiting fairs to fair activities, animal exceptions with exceptions. Fairs beginning after July 31st were no longer permitted to go forward. We can only have the junior fair shows. Food vendors were permitted. In our situation, we had about a dozen food vendors there on the grounds. We went ahead and brought animals in just like we would normally bring them in. We were there for 5 days. We didn't change that part of it, but we did limit it to just junior fair. Curfew is established at 10 o'clock. I know we did pretty good on our curfew, although we didn't do very good on sale night, because I think when we finally got out of the arena sale night, we were about 12:30 after the sale. So we were a few hours over, but nothing happened. Mask requirements, obviously the mask came in. We made masks available at the gates. We made masks available at the rings. We made masks available everywhere. Obviously, it was a frustration getting people to wear them, as whenever, we can make the rule, we can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. So we had a continual problem there. Social distancing requirement, of course, signage and everything came into play when we put that stuff together. One of the issues we had was on July 31st, when this came down, we were still planning on having a full fair. We hadn't backed off of it. We didn't make the decision early. We set a plan in place to have a full fair. So we were working that direction. We planned to run our sale just like we always had in person. And then all of a sudden we had to change on the 31st, and took us first week there in August to get all the things and the ducks lined up in a row. So I'm gonna go ahead, Meg. So we went with a virtual sale at that point, virtual and in person. We still wanted to have the kids there. We still wanted to have the ring and everything like that. We wanted to have the buyers who wanted to come and participate, but we wanted to have that option for buyers that wanted to participate virtually and be able to come online and purchase animals. So go ahead, Meng. So we'll just walk through the process of what it took us to do a virtual sale. And the first thing was the internet in the arena. Internet was not something we've had out on the grounds. We've not had Wi-Fi. We have it in the office, obviously. Here's an aerial picture. Point A is where our office is at. Point B is where our arena is at. So we were forced to come up with a plan to try and get internet down there in that arena. And there's several options, obviously, that come to mind. You know, we had 100 people that thought they had a better idea than what we had, and they could tell us what to do to get internet down there. But we had seen from some other fairs and seen some of the issues that it was necessary to know we had something we could rely on. If you heard this morning, we were talking about Howard in this conversation with AT&T. I had a similar conversation with Spectrum. It didn't go very well. But at any rate, we had contacted guys with the hotspots. You know, they assured us they could do it. We contacted the possibility of putting a dedicated fiber line from point A to point B because of the distance. We talked about the coax dedicated line, range extenders with access points and things. You know, there was a whole host of things that we could do. And we went ahead and went with the fiber line because of the distance. We were about 1,300 feet down there. So we went ahead and went with that fiber line. Obviously, there was a tremendous expense to that fiber line. There's no doubt that going down through there, it took some doing. Now, I was surprised. We actually, and this is where we fell in with Spectrum, had an issue. Spectrum talked that they could do that for us and they wouldn't charge us. And then at the last minute, they said they wouldn't do it for us. So we had a real problem on our hands because we backed up. If you are going to do something like this, I would suggest just go to an independent contractor. That's what we did at that point. We called an independent contractor, and within 2 days, we had a fiber line down there. And although it was expensive, I think it was reasonable. It's about 1,300 feet, and I think we were around $6,000 to get that fiber line in. But it's a permanent line, and the fiber is a fantastic option to have. And there's some other things that you can do with it. You know, I think move forward there a little bit, Meg. With that fiber line, there's equipment and stuff that we can have down there, video cameras, web cameras, audio systems, things that we can extend to that area of the fairgrounds and the junior fair portion of stuff. One thing we did, you know, we did several things with that fiber line once we had it down there, not just the sale, but we are actually able to stream all our shows. Want to go to the next one, Meg? We were able to stream our shows, as well as we had movie night one night for the kids. We brought in a big screen projector for the kids, the junior fair kids. We were able to use that fiber line then to bring the internet into that area, play the movie. We teamed up with Farm Bureau. I think a lot of you did too as well. We teamed up with Farm Bureau to stream our shows live as well. Got them to our Facebook page. We had a ton of excitement and action on those where we could do that. And these are things that I would assume we would continue to do. I mean, this is where we say there's opportunity. Obviously, you walk a fine line there. You know, you want to stream your show, but you don't want to take away from people coming, you know, and attending the fair either. But you want to give them that flexibility. You know, we had it so that grandparents and stuff that maybe were in compromise or in a risk area or a risk zone didn't have to come to the fair. They could still see their kids show their animals. We had people that are out of state, out of town relatives and stuff that were able to log on and see their grandkids or see their nieces and nephews and stuff. So, want to go ahead, Meg? So the next part of this whole system was choosing a platform. And obviously this is something for us to go virtual was totally new to us. What we needed to do is figure out how to do this and put it together quickly because we were only a couple weeks out. This year, I think we had 458 market projects. We were down. Our number was substantially down this year. we lost quite a few there at the end as the interest dropped out of Junior Fair with the confusion and everything else. And I think we're seeing that already this year too with confusion. I would suggest that you reach out to your 4-H advisors, your Junior Fair volunteers and supporters, and do whatever you can to calm them down, because we've seen some taggings this year on steers and that, and some fairs across the state that are down dramatically. So it's important that we keep them interested. So Peg, you want to go ahead? So what we did, and I will say Roger Hunker's on the call this morning. I'm sure Roger, if you've got anything to say, he can bring it into play here. Roger Hunker was from Breeders' World. Friend of mine from Ohio State, actually. We graduated together. We reached out to him. This is not an ad today for Breeders' World. You have to make the decision of what you do. I'm simply showing you what we did. And that's why we brought Breeders' World into this as well, to explain to you what we did with our sale. But we thought it was important that we do a live in person along with the live online bidding. And I think we were a little bit of the guinea pig for Roger. I think that everybody else had been going online only, you know, with these sales and that, but we were going to do both. So he agreed to come up. And we also wanted to simulcast the auction. We thought it was important that we could simulcast it. So these are two plans that he offered to us to come up and do the online bidding and a simulcast. He actually came up the day of the auction. He sat with the auctioneer there and called the auction, you know, called the online bids into the auctioneer as we went through it. Quick implementation, easy to use format. It was very, very easy to use. For us, it was a little difficult just because we were on such a tight time constraint to get this up and running. It was just tough for us within just a couple weeks to make this switch and get it to it. The flexibility with the payment options, of course, you could pay with a credit card through Breeders' World. They have several different platforms involved in it, and what they can offer and what they can provide to you as far as collecting the money and doing things like that. The cost of the platform varies on what you're willing to do. We were willing to put a little bit more effort into it and get the site set up, get the pictures loaded, get the kids' bios loaded, things like that. I think Cheryl's on here this morning. Cheryl Carr is the Fair Board Director up our way. She did a fantastic job with this, getting this stuff loaded and up for us. But don't fool yourself. It takes some time. So if this is something you guys are interested in or want to go to, make sure you give yourself enough leeway and you have enough help on board. Otherwise, you have to use their platform to do it. Now, the expense to it, you know, like I said, goes up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and so some of the expenses that we have, obviously, we use the MarTech program. I imagine several of you do as well. We use the MarTech program for entries and stuff that come in, their Junior Fair system. All our entries are online for Junior Fair. We use that MarTech, and we use their sale program. I know Portage County had used it for years. They talked us into it a couple years ago, and so we use that. It works real well. The auctioneers, obviously, we had our normal set of auctioneers that came in and took part in the auction down there that night, because they were actually calling the live bids from the ringside and everything like that. The additional expenses, of course, the Breeders' World with the live and the online thing. Like I said, if you're interested, you need to work with them to come up with a price on that, the fiber line installation, and then the add-ons. Now, the add-ons was something that they offer too. And with that, we weren't sure how it was going to work. And I'll give you the numbers on that. The add-on option was $7 a lot. You know, we were a little concerned with close to 500 lots, $7, $3,500 investment. And, you know, that's a lot of money to spend, but we didn't know what we'd get in return. But the add-ons, the way it works is the sale finishes in the ring. When a kid brings his animal in the ring and they crack that bid down, it's sold, and that's the end of it. Now, the add-on option stays live, and it stays online on the Breeders' World site. And you can go on at any time then and go ahead and add money back to it. And we left that on until Tuesday after the fair. Our sale was on Saturday night. We left it on until Tuesday after the fair was over. So, you know, if you're bidding on something and you plan to spend a little bit more money on an animal and nobody ran you up that high, you had the ability to, with the add-on option, to go back and give that kid a little bit more money on the other side. Now, for us, that generated $14,000. So for a less than $3,000 investment, our kids benefited a $14,000 gain with that add-on option on top of what they receive for their animals and their projects as they came through the ring. So we thought it was pretty good. Definitely something we'd want to do again. So, okay, Meg. So obviously the process for Junior Fair and the youth, this is important that we get this implemented in time. We get this process going. Virtual tagging, something we've already talked about. I know we did it the other day with our steers here as well. You know, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody knows what it takes to take that and get it done, get the tags distributed to the advisors, get a picture taken with the tag and get it sent in, avoid that group and that gathering at the grounds and stuff. Now, obviously, in order to do that, we had to waive their rate of gain classes. So our rate of gains have, we've had to take those classes out because of it. Lot numbers by lottery system instead of by placement. That's the one thing that we had to change this year. We had, sorry about that, I had a text message there. We had the lot numbers in the past. What we've always done is gone with the show order. By the placing order is how we've made up the sale order. So we wait till after the show, we make up the sale order and we go. Obviously, because we needed to get this loaded on the website and on the Breeders' World and have this up, we didn't have that ability. So we actually did it by lottery ahead of the fair. A week before the fair, our Junior Fair coordinator sat down with her helpers and got that done and set that sale order up. Now, they were able to manipulate it on the day of the auction, after the show and bring the champions up to lot number 1 and 2. So they were the first ones in there, but you don't want to have to change it all. So we sold by the head, not by the pound. I know some of you do this already, so it wouldn't be a big change. But for us, that was a big challenge. We just weren't sure how this was going to work out. We've always been a per pound fair, not by the head. I would say it was extremely positive. I was surprised. I called 3 of our largest buyers and I asked each one of them individually, and all 3 of them confirmed that they would rather buy by the lot, not by the pound. So, and they said, they know how much they're spending per kid and they don't need to figure it out, sit there and try and figure it out. Or if they had multiple animals they wanted to buy and only a certain amount of money, it was easier to keep track of for them if they knew they were buying by the head, not by the pound. So that worked out well. We talked about the online add-on, so that was a benefit. No animals in the ring was obviously a challenge this year, something none of us were used to, but I think you can see here from the picture, these kids were just as cute with their pictures and the things that they did and their presentations that they made along the way. Gathering the images and the bios for each project for the online auction was a challenge. Again, that was because we were so late trying to get this put together. So that's something I would recommend if you're going to do this, that you get that out ahead of time. Obviously, we have events during the course of the summer, project judging and things like that. If you can get that stuff pushed up into there to get those bios in that, then loading that information would be a lot easier. Loading all the project info, obviously, was just time consuming. The online DUNF forms was another thing we implemented this year. The Ohio Department of Agriculture made that available to us through the Ohio State website to get those done, DUNF forms. I know yesterday afternoon they had a session on that already. Again, something that, that session that they had yesterday to get you registered for online DUNF forms didn't take place for another 8 months last year, 7-8 months. So it was difficult to get those things done. But we've got them under our belt now. I think that people are used to working with this online stuff. So we're going to keep moving forward with that. I know Cheryl signed us up yesterday to be online with them again this year. So the no buyers packets handed out. We talked about that at the very beginning with the kid down there on the left-hand side, no contact with the buyers. This was a tough one. Our kids always have a buyer's packet, always have a sale board to give that person that says they supported the fair and that. They take that stuff out to the buyer by ringside. And that was part of the confusion that we need to work on to get ironed out too was, with an online buyer buying online versus people buying in the ring, the kids didn't know who bought their projects. It's easy to see at the sale when you're standing ringside and the kids walk right to the person they know and what's going on. We were able to announce it, but they just weren't able to, just the physical contact was definitely a problem there. So, I already hit that. We do online registration. What do you got next, Meg? Perfect. There was a site. That's what our site looked like last year. That's just a screenshot of what our site looked like with the animals that were on the site. With the winning, this was actually winning bidder stuff information. So, and this was on, and then the add-ons you see down at the bottom, but that's basically what it looked like. Obviously it went through, you know, with all the species and that throughout the program. So go ahead, Meg. So how we choose the type of auction we used, online only, online versus live, online and live, and the add-ons. I mean, these are things that y'all have to decide on your own. I will say with the with Breeders' World, they have a racehorse finish option. I hope I'm calling that right. Roger can correct me if I'm not. Racehorse finish. I know you guys saw that the other day on the OFMA site. Breeders' World actually helped us with that fundraising option we did too. The racehorse option. I know if you guys have taken, if you guys have participated in online auctions, you're used to that. I'm not used to it. I know it was kind of tricky for me. I think the explanation is hard to get people understanding what's going on with that. But that part of it, basically what it amounts to is a sale ends. If you're doing an online only sale, it ends at 8 o'clock. Then the clock resets every 5 minutes as long as somebody bids on an item. So if somebody bids on an item, then the clock automatically resets 5 minutes, and then they have the opportunity to bid again. So, and that person's been notified they're out on that particular item, and they have the option to come back. It's just a little tricky. I think the educational part of that's just a little tricky in my opinion. I could be wrong, but worked out extremely well the other day for the Ohio Fair Managers. I know it was stayed on. The auction ended and it stayed on for about a half an hour longer with people bidding on that every 5 minutes and generated a few more dollars. So you go ahead and go forward. So then the logistics, I guess the logistics was the only other issue that we had to work out. Like I said before, we split our sale, starts at 2:30 and then we start the large animals at 5:30. They overlap. We went from doing that to doing them all in one location, starting the sale at 2:30 and going straight through. We were a little slow right at the start this year, obviously getting used to the online bids along with the live bids coming in on the animals. So we slowed down just a little bit at the beginning. Once they got that up and running to a well-oiled machine, they were back on track. So sale went a little long this year. Like I said, we ran pretty late. We were about midnight when we cracked the animal, last animal out of the ring that night. But we changed the layout of the arena to work with the online auction side by side. I think we saw that earlier in a picture. We actually had both auctioneers sitting in the block. Roger came and was very good about sitting in that auction block from 2:30 until midnight. So there we go. So he sat on the one side of the auctioneer sat in the center, and then of course we had our two clerks on the side, so we had to expand that a little bit. But as somebody would bid online, he would call that bid. So the auctioneer would use his bid for calling online and use the audience for calling in person. And then they went through it like that. And like I said, once we got a few animals sold, it was a fantastic setup. I mean, they just cracked them right through. I will say as well, people in the ring enjoyed having the online auction part up on their phones. Everybody accessed it. They had it up on their phones. And quite frankly, they were watching the live auction with the online portion on their phone, keeping track of the bids as well as they were going through it. The other thing that it enabled us with our sale running so long and so late, we had several buyers that showed up at 2:30, got on, were there to buy small animals and stuff, got registered online with the online portion of the auction, and then left the fairgrounds and continued to purchase animals. So they didn't have to stay all the way till midnight. They came, they got the sale experience, they got the in-person experience. Then they went back to their, we had a car dealer, went back to their offices, and they all sat around at the office, and they might have had some adult cocktails, and worked their way through the auction and purchased more animals from that setup afterwards. So that worked extremely well too. We set up the seating, and you can see it in this picture. We had a director that was familiar with social distance seating and stuff. So this is how we set the seats up. We put rows of 2 and rows of 3 together, and then of course 6 feet apart. So if you had a party of 3 or so, you could sit in the rows of 3 too. And then we did a single row as well too, if you had a single buyer. Of course, we kept the bleachers out on the outside. Again, mask required, the audio system, live streaming. That's the one thing. I think if you back up that other picture Maggie had, it had the live stream camera. No, that's not the one. There he goes. Roger brought the live stream camera there as well, set it up in front of it so we could live stream through it. I'm not sure we have that quite worked out yet. We had some technical difficulty with that. The live stream would go down occasionally. So I'm not sure on that. As we move forward, we might just maybe put a webcam up down there and try and solve that one. So, oh, where are we at, Meg? So marketing was the other avenue to market the virtual sale, and the educational part about it. Educating the public in a short amount of time was obviously a challenge for us. I would say if you have this opportunity to make sure you get it done early. We did it. We accomplished it, but we used some radio spots. We had a local radio station, and by radio, I don't mean we went to iHeartRadio. We just had a local station that we ran some radio spots on. Social media obviously was huge. We mailed out our normal postcard. You can see a picture of it here. We mailed our postcard out just announcing that you could be in person and online. There was a lot of confusion, obviously, last year with people, can we come to the fair? Can we do this and stuff like that? We did the Zoom meetings. We met with all our 4-H advisors, all our Junior Fair volunteers and everybody. We did Zoom meetings ahead of it to try and explain everything. And then we went ahead and put instruction sheets, and we emailed them out to everybody as we went through it too. So we tried to get that out to as many buyers as we could to bring them up to speed on what we needed to do. So want to go ahead, Meg? So was it successful compared to previous sales? We put the good and the bad down on stuff. I think, go down the good side. Obviously, we talked about most of this stuff. Relatives could attend and stuff. The return on investments was huge with the add-on options, the cost versus what things were. Bids were very competitive on some species. Some made more money than they've ever made before. We had individual things in favor on that. It still comes down to the same thing with the bids is if the kids bring their buyer to the sale, they're going to make money. If they don't bother bringing a buyer, they're not going to make any money. That doesn't change. The fiber line opened up quite a bit more options to us for what we can do in the future. And that I think moving forward, we can develop more under the program. Like I said, I was amazed at late in the evening there, we were onto the steers and that where you could watch online and see the bid was coming. They were bidding in the ring and they were bidding online, and it was just alternating back and forth, online ring, back and forth as we went through the night. And these kids, I think, were making some more money because they wouldn't normally have been at the ring still. They wouldn't have been ringside still because we were running so late. On the bad side, when we say bad, I guess it's all relative. Collecting this information ahead of time was time consuming. Obviously, it adds another layer to your sale. I think it's important that you have the manpower to do that. Make sure you don't sell yourself short. We get blamed on this. We try and keep too much stuff in the office, and we just had to reach out and get help. We just couldn't do it all this year. The live auction video, like I alluded to, was a little spotty. We had a little trouble with it. The length of the sale was too long. We've never wanted to split and go to separate days, but maybe that's something we need to do. I mean, that's something I know a lot of you do already. The payment method at the end was a little confusing. With the online version with Breeders' World, when you came on, you had to register a credit card to go ahead and be registered as a bidder. However, you didn't get charged on your credit card. They were sent an invoice by Breeders' World, but the invoice said, pay the Jog County Agricultural Society. I'm amazed at how many people can't read an invoice to realize that's what they need to do. They were used to using their credit card registering and then simply their credit card being charged. Now, like I said, this is something you need to work out with Breeders' World. This isn't a bad thing necessarily. It's just something you need to work out. Just be aware of it. Roger has a lot of different options to that too. I mean, he's happy to collect that money, but then there's a charge involved in it as well. Obviously, there has to be, and to work that out. Length of the sale is a problem for us. took longer to close out the sale. That was one situation where it just took a little longer to match those online bids up and get that part of it closed out with in person, but we're just because we were not used to it and something new. Some people were confused. Obviously, we just couldn't educate everybody. The cost, and we put the cost, and that's why I say these things aren't bad, because the cost was, the return on the investment was phenomenal. There's absolutely, we didn't know going in, we were spending a whole lot more money and we didn't know where we were. But the bottom line is the return that these kids received on this was fantastic. We had a couple glitches at the end with the online reports. We just couldn't get them quite quick enough. Couldn't get them in as fast as we wanted to. And the scholarship fund, this is probably the only bad thing that I would say. The scholarship fund, we hand out scholarships for kids that have been involved in Junior Fair each year. The scholarship fund actually didn't generate any funds for it because we couldn't do resale animals. And that's generally where we get the majority of the resale money goes into the scholarship fund and the donations. And we couldn't do the scholarship fund this year. We did put it up as a lot. I mean, I think we got, a couple $100, but we're used to getting several $1,000s. So that's something I think moving forward, we probably want to auction the scholarship off, and have it actually in the ring and the auctioneers calling the scholarship fund to see if we can't generate money for it. So go ahead, Meg. So the outlook for 2021, and I had a meeting last night, and fair managers, we've been working around the clock to try and get everything done this year and try and get back on track and have fairs. But at the end of it, we keep saying we don't know, because we just don't know what the governor is going to be willing to do and willing to work with us on. And I think every day we think we'll have a better answer, and every day hopefully we will. But our outlook for 2021 is live stream shows and events. We're going to want to do some of that live streaming and stuff, even if we have everybody in the fair and we get back to a full fair. Virtual auction and the in-person auction, I think, generated a lot of revenue for the kids and stuff, and having that flexibility. People might be out of town, but they still want to participate in that auction. We would do so. The add-ons, like I said before, were huge. It's a huge benefit. And of course, the fiber line expansions. And as we go through, one other thing I needed to add to this slide, but didn't have time, was your livestock processors. I know that several of you have had trouble securing your livestock processing plants. I would say do not wait on that. Make sure that you get that done as faster than later. Obviously, that's an issue. We're seeing plants all around that just can't manage the capacity. I know there's some down south of us here that are booked through 21. There's guys sitting on animals trying to get them into slaughterhouses and stuff. So we have that too. So I think that takes us to the end of the presentation. Am I correct, Meg? If we are, we can click it back off, maybe go back to full screen here, and we can get back opened up. Paul, you're still on the phone. I guess I've been through that, what we did. I know you guys did a little different plan down there. You still had your live auction and stuff. So you want to go ahead and take over for a couple seconds here, and then we'll get the floor opened up for some questions, see if we can get something going.
Sure, Paul. Thanks. Yeah, we staggered our animals throughout the week coming in, hogs, lambs, and that come in on Tuesday. Everything was there until Sunday. That's when they all left. Our auction was all day on Saturday. We did basically the same thing as Paul did on a lot of the stuff. We did use hybrid for our online auction service. They did a phenomenal job also. We use a local guy for our live streaming. He's an IT guy. He's set up to do it. Did a great job for us. Did all the shows, did the auctions. And then, like Paul said at the end, we did do the virtual and the in-person auction. I would say probably from what we're used to having there, probably about half as far as in the live, the people that actually showed up to bid their live. I was trying to get the data on it, and I couldn't get it on actually who bought most of the animals, the people that was actually there or the people online, because it seemed like most of the big stuff for the Grand Champions Reserve, those people were there in person. But ours, it went well. We didn't have to run the fiber optic down there. We ran just hard cable, but we had most of it all done. We just had to update it. But other than that, for what we was dealt with this year, our sale and the shows went better than I expected, I guess.
Thanks, Paul. And again, there's several options out there. I brought up Roger and Breeders' World here today. I will say that.
Just the Army band behind her.
Thank you. I will say though, like I said before, we try and support those people that support us. Breeders' World just joined on to associate membership with the Ohio Fair Managers, and we appreciate that. It's important that we talk to these guys. So by all means, I'm sure he would entertain anybody's calls or that coming through. And I know quite a few who did use him anyhow. So
Hey, Paul.
It. Yes, Howard.
Let me address the elephant in the room here. And we've been getting these calls at the office and on my cell phone. Let me assure you that the Ohio Fair Managers Association is doing a lot to get our Ohio fairs back open. We have a consortium of people between Greater Ohio Showmen, the Festivals Association, and Ohio Fair Managers. There's 12 individuals that those organizations have put forward into a working team with over 600 years of experience in this business, Paul Harris being one of them, to work with the legislature. And over the next 9 days, we'll have probably a lot more information here for you, working with leaders in the legislature, as well as conversations that they've had with the governor to assure that we can go back to full fairs in 2021. Now, having said that, again, this is going to be up to the governor. We don't have revenues to go to court and roll that dice. But rest assured, we're not sitting back waiting on the governor. We're going to press forward here with a plan to reopen Ohio's fairs safely, to reopen Ohio's festivals safely, and get our Greater Ohio Showman partners back to work here. So more information will be coming out probably after February the 2nd or 3rd on where we're at and what direction we're headed. Again, there's, I think, 2 or 3 meetings here in the next week where we're going to have these conversations. So just, again, I want to repeat myself and say, rest assured, we're not sitting back waiting on the governor.
Thank you, Howard. And that's I brought up before, our morning sponsor today is Greater Ohio Showman's. They partnered with us. Festivals Commission partnered with us to try and kick this ball down the field and get it into play. We're not sitting waiting for the call. We kicked this out ahead of time. I know next week's session, quick advertising, next week's session is Amanda Sines. She'll be back on to bring us up to date on where Senate Bill 375 lies. Some of this information too, maybe it'll be a little more clear on where we are. So we'll get back to our topic today. What did you guys, some of you guys had similar experiences, not successes, failures, anything we brought up that you wanted to maybe ask questions about? I guess it's up to you guys. I mean, we can kick this out. We don't need to worry about online stuff too. We can talk about other avenues in the sale. Livestock sales obviously is always very important. So is there anything else anybody wants to talk about this morning or Ed?
This is Natalie from Ashland County.
Yes.
How did you do your turn prices if you sold by the lot? Did the turn buyers just give you a flat dollar amount?
I guess I don't know what you're referring to on turn buyer.
For the turns, like for hogs, the turn buyer might bid $1.30 per pound for the pig.
Oh, I understand. Okay, I'm sorry. That's not something we're familiar with. That's not something we do. So we don't have that in on this.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know, Roger, can you add into that maybe? Did you have that? Did you have to deal with that at all, Roger?
We didn't necessarily have to deal with it, but any of those that are selling them to the packer or whatever, they were just doing it as they did, just by the pound. I mean, it still comes back to whole dollars. So the kids, depending on how you're set up, whether the kids get that money or whether that's taken away from what the advertising buyer does.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Paul, we have a question on the chat.
Okay, go ahead and read it, Meg.
Could you please explain the add-ons you used?
Yeah, the add-on situation was, that slide that we put up there that showed the sale and that an add-on option, we paid to have that option on and left open after the fair. So if you brought your hog or steer or animal in the ring and sold it, you might have had a combination of the people in the ring bidding on it and the people online. But when the auctioneer crack sold, that animal was sold for whatever that amount, that animal was sold at that point in time. The add-on option stayed live. Now you could add on before the sale, you could add on after the sale. You didn't necessarily need to be the buyer of the animal to do the add-ons. You just needed to be registered on the site. So you could go on and give every kid $50 if you wanted to, or you could go on and give your niece or your nephew $100 or $500, whatever you wanted to give that kid. Or if you were the person who bought the animal, but you expected to pay more, you could go on and put more onto his animal as well. I think I see Annie's on here, one of our auxiliary members and president of auxiliary. I think you exercise that option, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, that, they brought money from the Rotary, they knew they had a couple $1,000s to spend or whatever the number was. They didn't spend it all, even though they did, they bought all the kids' projects they wanted. They didn't spend it all. They were able to go back in on the add-ons then and distribute that money that they had that they were able to spend. Right, Annie? So
Yes, that's correct. That's what we did.
that's how it works. And like I said, the return on that was just gigantic. I just think it was a fantastic thing. Does that answer that question?
Well, and I can also add to it. I have 2 kids who are in 4-H, and as a parent, I felt the online knowing their lot number ahead of time. I actually copied and pasted into my own Facebook, and I got the kids a couple, like I think they got $50 from a couple of my friends who just went to the add-on option and gave them $50 versus trying to bid live during the auction. So it definitely brought more income to my kids' projects versus only being able to offer one person to buy it at the auction. The add-ons allows multiple people to give your kids money. Maybe it's $25 to each kid, or maybe it's $50 to each kid. Or we even had a buyer who normally bought one of the participants' chickens, and he lost the bid in the ring. So then he went on afterwards and gave her like another, I think he gave her another like $1,400 towards her project. So that add-on really helped her.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with it is it opens up another avenue of buyers. It opens up another whole avenue of people to participate in the sale who maybe aren't comfortable coming to the sale and buying stuff. And you have the other option too is,
You have another question.
Go ahead. What you got, Meg?
Okay, did you take a percentage out of each kid's check for administrative costs?
Yes, we did. We actually we raised that this year, and I think next year I'm confident to say that we can take it back down. We only generally charge 1%. However, we can charge up to 2%. And we went ahead and went with the 2% this year because we had all the added costs that came into it. So we charged 2%. But like I said, I'm confident we can go back down to the 1% this coming year since we've got this investment, paid for at this point. The other thing we do is we do charge the buyers 1%. So we did do that as well. We charge the buyers 1%. Now we started that actually a year ago. That wasn't this year that we started that. We started that a year ago to try and cover some of the credit card fees. As credit card fees start to expand and people want to use it, the price of those credit cards got more and more costly. So we added that 1% on the buyers. We had 2 buyers out of, several hundred say something about it when they went to check out on the 1%. We told them what it was for and they said, oh yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. And they paid it. So that's what we charge on percentages. So.
We
more
have
questions,
another
Nick?
question.
Go ahead.
It says, back to the kids' animals. What happened to the animals after they were sold after the sale? Was there a collection point somewhere, or did each kid take care of selling their own animal?
Well, actually, our sales all terminal, so all our animals go to slaughter. So every animal that was sold left and went to slaughter. There was no back to family sales involved. So
Hey, Paul, I'll throw in there that of all the fairs that we did, I mean, there's lots of different options there. And so we had some that, like there was one in Pennsylvania that they just had day shows where the kids, they actually went to somebody's farm and showed. And when they were all done, they took them back home. And then I think it was a couple days later, after their sale got all done, they had a collection of those animals, and they got distributed to either the local slaughterhouses or they just went to to a big packer. So it just depends on each fair of how they want to set that up.
and some of that's going to depend on your slaughter facilities too, is what you can work out with your slaughter facilities, whether you can bring them in there intermittently or they all need to come in as one. I think Lake County's, I don't know if anybody's on from Lake County, maybe they can explain, they did the same thing. They went day by day, then they had them all online. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, each individual kid was responsible to take those animals over then to the slaughterhouse, get them to the slaughterhouse. So, but ours stayed all week. We're over a holiday weekend, so we shipped them out on Monday morning, just like we normally would. So, is there any more questions, Meg?
No.
Does anybody have anything else to add today? We're about 50 minutes into this. We don't want to keep you on longer than we have to, but I mean, answer any questions that, I don't know if we've helped anything out or if we've helped you along the way or help make a decision. I guess, like Howard alluded to before, we're working around the clock to try and get our fairs open, mouth back up, try and do everything we can. But I think there's some things we learned from this that we can probably implement, even with our fairs opened up and running. There's some things that we learned along the way to make things better. So, is there anything else today? Rod Arter, are you still on? I saw earlier, Rod, you were on. If you're still on here, our president of the Ohio Fair Managers, he was on earlier. There he is.
I'm here,
Rod,
Paul.
Yep. You have anything you wanted to add this morning?
No, I just got to agree with Howard that, I'm zoomed out. I've been on enough Zoom meetings in the last 8 months to last me a lifetime. And there's many more to come. We will continue. Our number one goal is to open Ohio Fair safely. So like Howard said, probably February the 2nd or 3rd, we'll have a lot more information, and we'll certainly get that out to everyone. The only other thing I would say is anybody in your fairs, if you change officers, this and that, we're having some problems getting all of our information to the right people on fair board. So please make sure your district director has that information, and we're making sure they get it to you once we give it to them. So that's all I got, Paul.
Thanks, Rod. Appreciate you being here this morning and helping us out too. Along those same lines, we'll reiterate what we said before, that this was recorded this morning. So if there's any part of this conversation you want to go back and review, it will be posted to the YouTube channel on Fair Managers. By all means, if we can talk you into it, please sign up for the Fair Managers YouTube channel. That gives us a lot more flexibility in the services that we provide to you all. So make sure you go back and look at that. And we want to thank Greater Ohio Showmans as well for everything that they've done for us throughout the year and throughout the time. And they're our wonderful sponsor this morning. Appreciate Roger joining us this morning. I said before, this wasn't an ad for a Breeders' World, but at the same time, we were very satisfied with the services that were provided. And I would recommend him to you. If you need any of this stuff, by all means, reach out to him and he'll help you get set up. I know we were talking yesterday in the office, Roger, we need to get a contract again for this year so we can get back on board here and get going, because we're going to want to do all this again. We're planning on having a full fair. Our board's still going to move forward with a full fair option, but a lot of this stuff we want to implement again. So if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and finish up this morning. Is there anything else that anybody, the good of the order, livestock sales, or any other issue anybody wants to discuss? We can discuss it real quick. So. Okay, well, seeing none, I appreciate everybody's help. Again, I want to thank Kathy and Leanne and Meg for jumping on here this morning and walking us through this, and Howard, and appreciate all the help. They'll get this up on the Fair Managers website and we'll go from there. So,
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent job, Paul.
Michelle B said thank you. Muskingum County and Betty Wingerter.
I think it went good.
I think it was
Thanks,
awesome.
Greg. Appreciate it.
Sure.
See you at work tomorrow.
All right, bye.
Hello.